Hello everyone, welcome again to your channel. Thanks for the click. I hope you are doing well. So before I start, I'd like to thank you for your command, for your word, for your trust, and for everything. Now, today, as you can see, we are going to talk about teaching grammar, but with the integration of the grammar course into the communicative language teaching. In other words, we're going to talk about teaching grammar using the communicative language teaching approach. Now, usually, if not always, when we talk about teaching grammar, our minds go to what we call the PPP model. The PP model, presenting or presentation, practice, and production. This is very common in teaching of grammar. Now, this is something to do with the traditional view, the traditional way of teaching grammar. Actually, communicative language teaching has brought another vision, another way of the teaching of grammar. Not only teaching grammar, but also the teaching of the 4 skills. Now, that's the communicative language teaching that has shifted or that moved our way of teaching either grammar or the 4 skills from the PPP model, the PPP approach, which is traditional, to something else which is very common, which is the pre, while, and post. And this is something that we can find in teaching the 4 skills, like reading, for example, the pre-reading, the while reading and post-reading, the pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening. So this is the way that we can implement, we can use to teach the 4 skills, and not like the traditional model, which is the PPP. When we talk about the integration of the grammar into the communicative language teaching, which means the same, we are going to move from the PPP model, we are going to forget about the PPP model to talk about and use the pre, while, and post model. So can you imagine, can we teach grammar using the pre, while, and post? For sure, yes. And this is how we can teach grammar using the communicative language teaching. So we can teach grammar using the communicative language teaching with the pre, while, and post. The same as the teaching reading, the teaching of listening, and all the other skills. This is number 1. Another very important thing is that when we talk about the integration of grammar into the communicative language teaching, automatically we talk about the integration of the skills. So teaching grammar following using the communicative language approach entails the integration of the 4 skills. So we cannot teach grammar communicatively following or implementing the communicative language teaching if we don't integrate the skills, the 4 skills. So this is it. So remember the integration of the 4 skills. Number 2, the pre, while, and post. Now, how can we implement this model in teaching of grammar? So this is something that you can use while making a lesson plan. So here we have the pre grammar, and we have the while grammar, and we have the post grammar. So in the pre-grammar phase, the teacher should bring the grammar instruction into real life. So here you try to discuss interesting topics that interest students most. So it is a kind of stimulating, it's a kind of raising, we can say raising awareness. Okay, so raising awareness, preparing students for the grammar lesson. This is what pre-grammar phase is all about. So you try to discuss real life topics, you can talk about interesting topics, raising student awareness, etc. Now, when we talk about the while phase or the while grammar phase, here, very simply, you can facilitate what we call noticing. So students notice what? Very simply, notice the new structure, okay, structure, or the grammar point you are going to teach or you want to teach your students, okay? So structure or the point, the grammar items you want your student to learn. So here you are going to facilitate noticing. How? Very simply by creating a kind of context. And when I say creating a kind of context, it's either through, for example, picture, text, dialogue, student might listen to something, etc. So this is how you can facilitate notice it. So student notice, student observe, hypothesize, try to understand the grammar structure. Not all of this. This can also include practicing. Okay, practicing very simply the form. Okay, practicing the form. So if we want to relate this here, we are going to say that the while grammar phase includes presenting and practicing phase. Now let's talk about post. Post, it is more about production. So it is the production phase. It is the use. Okay, the use. Students are going to use the grammar point or the grammar structure they learned, use it, we can say authentically or in real life situation. So here there are different activities you can use to do this or to include in the post grammar phase. It's either, for example, dialogue or role play. It can be a writing activity, discussion, etc. So here students are going to use what they learned in the while grammar phase. Okay, so these are the three very essential stages for teaching grammar with the communicative language teaching, or when we include or when we integrate the grammar into communicative language instruction. Now we are going to take a very simple example. Let's take, for example, you are going to teach used to. So in the pre-grammar phase, very simply you can, for example, discuss how people change over time or over years, etc. You may show them two pictures of two people, how they changed. So this is the pre-grammar phase. So you are trying and preparing, discussing something which is real, etc. Now, in the while grammar phase, you can provide students with a structure, you can provide them with a dialogue, you can show them a picture with a description, with a sentence, for example, and students notice how they use used to and notice the form, negative, maybe affirmative, and so on. You can also give it to them in form of a dialogue, for instance, in a text, in sentences. It's up to you to choose the way you want to facilitate noticing and facilitate this form. So this is the while. And in the post, so you can put students, for example, in pairs or in groups and discuss how they change, for example, from childhood to adulthood, for instance, or you can give them a writing task, for example, to write a paragraph about how they changed from, for example, when they were children to the present. So as you can see, while doing this lesson, we integrate the skills. So we have kind of speaking, we have a kind of listening, we have a kind of writing, and also reading. If it is, for example, here in the context, if it is a text or if it is a dialogue, students are going to read. So in this lesson, we have the integration of the four skills. Okay, so this is how we can teach a grammar lesson with the communicative language teaching approach. So remember, we move from the PPP model, which is traditional, to the pre, while, and post, which is more communicative, more integrating the skills, and so on. So this is what we do in each of these phases. This is a way that you can include in your lesson plan. If you have any question or suggestion, never ever hesitate to let me know. See you in another episode with another lesson. Have a good time and goodbye.